Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to show you how I made this succulent pumpkin using Papercrete and a bunch of fun succulents. Last year I made a similar video, but it didn't have a planter portion, it was just a pumpkin, and I will link that down below. So step number one is making the Papercrete mixture, which consists of 3 parts of paper pulp, 2 parts Portland cement, and 1 part perlite. So this is the tub that I use to mix it all together. I recommend using gloves and wearing a mask. So the paper pulp I make, and I have a video that I will link for you down below if you're interested in making it. It's basically newspaper that I soak and then mix with a paint mixer to make pulp. And then the next ingredient, Portland cement, you can find at most any hardware store. And then perlite is something that is used in potting soil to aerate the soil, and this can usually be found at any garden store or home improvement store. So an easy way to remember the recipe is just 3, 2, 1, 3 parts paper pulp, 2 parts Portland cement, 1 part perlite. So then I just mixed everything together and made a batch of Papercrete. And a simple trick to make sure that the consistency is correct, what I do is I will make a ball in my hand and throw it up a little bit, and if it stays together, I know the consistency is correct. So to make the shape of the pumpkin, I used pantyhose. You can get them pretty cheap at dollar stores and places like that. And then also you will need some sort of string, ribbon, or twine. And I cut the bottom portion of the pantyhose or stockings off. And to make it a little bit easier to put the Papercrete into the pantyhose, you can place the pantyhose around something like a cup, so it's easy just to press the Papercrete inside. But I wanted to make a rather large pumpkin, so I decided not to use the cup. And essentially I just placed the Papercrete inside the bottom of the stocking and shaped it to my preference. I wanted kind of a squatty looking pumpkin. So I just compacted the Papercrete. As I put a handful in, I would press it all together, put another handful in, press it together, and lift up the stocking, and it kind of will make a round shape for you automatically, which is nice. So I just filled it until I was out of Papercrete, and then I used the string to make lines in the pumpkin. So you will need to cut some strands that will be long enough to tie around your pumpkin, and then you'll place these strands in a pattern so that when you place your pumpkin in the middle, you can tie them around up at the top. So you will have to decide how many lines you're going to want on your pumpkin, and that will determine how many strands that you will need. So next you will place your pumpkin right in the middle of the strands, and be sure to tie a knot at the top of the pantyhose, and then you will take the strands and tie them at the top, and that's what creates the lines in the pumpkin. And then I was trying to decide how I would make the reservoir for the soil. And one option is to just leave it as is and glue the succulents to the pumpkin with a little bit of moss. But I wanted to have a place where I could put some soil and these succulents could root in a little bit. And so I started by just using my fingers and creating sort of a void at the top of the pumpkin. But I didn't want that to collapse in as it was drying. So I cut the bottom portion of a plastic cup and I stuck that inside by cutting one of the strings and cutting a small hole in the stocking. That way I could place the cup inside and it would leave a reservoir when it dried for the soil. I did have to go back and replace that string that I had cut, so I would still have that pumpkin shape, but overall it worked pretty well. So if I were to do this again, what I would do is before I put a knot at the top of the pantyhose, I would make a little reservoir in the Papercrete, stick the cup into that, tie the pantyhose tight so that the cup sticks down into the Papercrete, and then I would tie my strings on top of that. I think that would be a lot easier. Okay, so when you are satisfied with the shape of your pumpkin, you will put it in a plastic bag, and I left it in the bag overnight, and then the next day I took it out of the bag and I let it completely dry for about 5 days, and then I was able to remove the strings and the pantyhose. So as you can see, the hole that was created by the cup turned out a little bit lopsided. So what I did is I used a diamond tip drill bit to fix that a little bit as best I could, but it still turned out a little bit wonky. I think to fix that, if I were to have used a more substantial cup, something that wasn't so flimsy, it would have had a better shape to it. But once I put the succulents in, you really can't tell what the shape is anyway, so not a big deal. So I used some scissors just to pop off this little extra bit of Papercrete, and then I sanded that down and sanded any of the little lumps and bumps that I saw on the pumpkin. So once the planter was finished, I gathered an assortment of succulents and I just went to town with decorating it. And I did want to mention that I did not put a drainage hole in this planter, but you definitely could do so if you wish. So I started by putting a little bit of soil into the planter, and then I put the tallest succulents right in the middle to kind of act as the pumpkin stem, and then I just started sticking succulents all the way around until it was full and looked cute in my opinion. So here is a 360 view of how it turned out. I think it turned out super cute. I have some fall colors in there, and I really like these string up bananas that I used as well. I think it gives it an extra whimsical feel. So overall, I had so much fun with this project. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and maybe you will try this yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.